I think in the West, where we are, and I mean in the largest sense in the West as opposed to the East, the relevance of music and culture has been very, very different than it has been in the East. In Indian music, for example, the education of the listener makes the experience whole. So the performance is half of it, and the person listening to it is the other half of it. And we don't seem to have that attitude in the West. I mean, we're consumers. And when you look at the relevance of our arts and our culture in contemporary society, you have to look at it, I believe, as a mirror of the whole society. We're a disposable culture. And we don't make things around us that last very long. In general, in our culture, we're a consumer culture. So I think that has reflected back onto music. And I think that music and all of the arts reflect what's going on in the culture. Unless you're looking at historic forms, unless you're looking at old operas, unless you're listening to things that have been done historically. But when you're looking at the cutting edge of what's being composed and what's being done, it is and it should be a forward look, and it should be a way of informing us and leading us above where our culture is going. So these should all be reflections, and I look myself to artists and to composers as people who can help take us in another direction. I think that's really the role of artists, is to reflect, give us a way to reflect on where we are and, what we've done, what we're doing, what we could be doing. And I know that classical music, or the more serious music, has sometimes been put in another, it's been put in a more of an academic role, or in more of a role that's elitist and that kind of thing, and is something that is not part of the broader culture. And I think there's a real mixing up of things going on now in music, and I think that more and more the categories of music have gotten very blurred. 25 years ago, world music or ethnic music was really quite on its own. I think that's infiltrated popular culture. It's infiltrated, the more serious music, the concert music. And, so that's one example of it. As our travel and as our own cultural boundaries have blurred, when you look at a typical, even in the Midwest, any place in America, you can find any kind of ethnic food, because we've had such an influx of, immigration. So I think that begins to, the music will begin to reflect that. I think that the popular folk kind of music, and I think of our, kind of rock music and pop music that we think of it as kind of folk music, that goes much more quickly, sort of in and out. And